Hello and welcome to this session where I will be recording making art. My name's Jonathan Kendall, artist name ONOJK123. So I'm going to open up a program called GIMP. It stands for GNU Image Manipulation Program. It's open source, free software. So I'm gonna make it 19,000 pixels. You can choose less or more depending on your system resources and what you can handle and what you're used to. So there we go. 600. And the resolution 600 is just habit. I've been using that for a while, so I say okay. It says, warning, you're trying to create an image with a size of 3.4 gigabytes, blah blah blah. I say okay, that's fine. And I'll bring up my system. I'm using Ubuntu Linux here. Monitor, I type in monitor there. I like to keep my system monitor up and right click always on top to see what's going on, whether my computer is frozen or is it really working on something, or what's the memory usage currently. So here you have the memory, and up top you have the CPU usage. Okay, and I'm going to create a new layer here in GIMP. Delete the background, I don't use the background. Okay, so I'm going to use the free select tool here to just randomly zigzag here. Zigzag, zigzag. Just trying to populate the canvas with some colors. So I'm going to select certain parts of the canvas using this. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Then you hit enter and edit fill with, I'm going to use red, and then I'm actually going to invert the opposite color of red. That makes it cyan, looks like. And select, invert the selection, not the color, just a selection, and edit fill with red, so that does the opposite there. And there's going to be a lot of contrast between the two colors there, which is what I like to start with. And then I'll hit the move tool, and that'll, just out of habit, I go back to the move tool before I do something. And gonna duplicate the layer, go to the warp transform tool. It's a group of tools. Swirl clockwise. I'm gonna go ahead and swirl these. I do that to break up the straight lines. I don't want to deal with straight lines only. You could if you wanted to keep the straight lines, but I want to swirl. So you just drag it, and you know, I'm using a large canvas, so my computer is working kind of hard here. CPU usage is steadily a little more, and memory is up to 15.7 gigabytes out of 64 gigabytes. Continue swirling here. Swirl, swirl. And then I'm gonna increase the size. Let's see. Increase the size of the swirl. And just broadly go across here. And then it's gonna play catch up. Okay, and then there it is applying that. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to the move tool. I always go back to the move tool, which applies the warp transform. When you select another tool after working with another tool, it will apply whatever changes you've made, make them permanent. And then you can see it is working on that right there. In case you're ever in doubt, like, is my computer just frozen? What is it doing? You can see that's working on something. And sometimes you have to wait quite a while. Maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes to have it apply your changes. And then you can see it'll stop here, and then this eventually will drop down. The CPU usage is now lower than it was after finishing that task. Okay, you're gonna merge visible layers, filter, distort, kaleidoscope, which is a very useful tool. Kind of arranges whatever you have on the canvas into a pattern. I'm going to choose 12 mirrors and trim, bring it up to the right side of the bar there. That just means it selects the trim from this area right here. So whatever you have in that area, it's going to select that. And you can see the red and the cyan are very far apart. Like, this pattern is not very dense. But that can be changed on the next step. So we go ahead and hit OK. And duplicate layer. Filter, go back to reshow kaleidoscope. So going back to the kaleidoscope tool. Gonna hit 12 again. Gonna trim to the right of that and hit zoom right past the middle here. 57.4. And that's gonna bring the pattern into smaller and tighter spaces, which is what I want to go towards. Gonna say OK and wait for it to catch up. Again, it's using system resources here. CPU usage is high while it's completing the kaleidoscope task. Okay, so I finished that. Now I'm going to send it the exact same repeat kaleidoscope. Also, Control F would work. Let's use Control F here. So Control F. And see, it's repeating down here the kaleidoscope. So the exact same command for the result of the last command. So the last time we applied it, it's going to apply that to the result. And you can see we only have cyan and red, two colors. That's okay. You can always add more colors. So there, it applied it, and now it's got very tiny and compact details. But I want to add some more colors, and on top of that, I want to add a different pattern inside of that pattern. So I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, I'm going to select the paintbrush tool. I'm going to make this color that color. I'm going to make my color palette these two colors. Then I'm going to go over to the gradient tool. I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure it's set to FG to BG hard. What does it say here? Can't read that. Some like hardened. It's basically like just cuts off 50-50, two different colors, and it's a hard transition between the colors. So that's what I want in the gradient. Then I'm going to go over to the paintbrush tool, select this square paintbrush. I just like the square. Actually use whatever you want. And make sure the hardness is turned all the way up. And it's on dynamics random color. You're going to want random color there. Okay, and then I'm just going to, on this layer that's on top of the other layer, gonna go ahead and paint some things there, and you can make it whatever size you want. A little larger. You can literally do whatever you want here. I like this square, and then I just like the closeness of the lines, like how it's so small, detailed. And it's not gonna. This isn't the shape I'm gonna use here. This is just temporary. Kind of like here. Let me take away the other layers. You just see this. I'm just using this portion of the canvas. And then I'm going to go back to the warp transform and just get this large. I'm just going to transform it a bit. So here's a large warp, creating distortions in the way that it does, and change the size, make it smaller, so shake things up a different level here. Okay. Now, move tool to apply the transform, and you can go back to the move tool like I usually do. Now the other canvas is still here underneath that. So you can see it's still here. So if I make it visible, it's still there. That's fine. But I'm going to select the top canvas, which is this one, and filters, kaleidoscope, 12 on the mirrors, and all the way to the right, almost all the way to the right. I'm going to leave the zoom where it is. So this is going to create this nice, just going to sample this part right here and make it a pattern, a kaleidoscope pattern. Say okay. Go to system monitor. It's working on this right here. And it is done. Fill that in. Now, I don't care what colors these are. They just have to be different colors. So red and cyan, inverted colors there. Select by color. I'm going to select the red, just the red. And then you play with the threshold. The threshold is really like how much of the red is it aggressively going to try to grab. And if you turn it way down, it's going to be a little bit, I don't know, more lazy about getting the red. It's going to be, turn it all the way up, it's going to be really strict about it. It's going to get more red if it can. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate the layer beneath it. So now there's two layers here that are the same. Underneath it, I'm going to make those visible, and I'm going to make the current layer invisible, but the selection will remain. Selection does not go away, it just remains. It's selected the above color, which is no longer visible, which is what I want. So now I'm had this top selection on the bottom layer. Not the bottom layer, but the one beneath it. So I'm going to hit and delete out the area that I selected. You can't see it yet. So select none. Can't see it because there's two duplicate layers here. Let me take away one, and you'll see the pattern is now deleted out of the top layer. Out of these two layers. But I want to introduce color. So I'm going to make the bottom layer visible. Select the bottom layer. There. Colors, hue saturation. And I'm going to slide the hue to wherever I feel like that color should be. It doesn't really matter too much, like if you choose the wrong color at this point, because I'm not tuning in the colors yet. Like, colors to me are placeholders, they're values. You can change them. I mean, there's certain ways you don't want to change them, and certain ways you do. You just learn that by experience. So I could make the colors here. I do kind of want to make them sort of close, so I don't have to go too far later in another direction. So you know what? I like that yellow. That works. Say okay. Then merge these two visible layers together. And also I'm going to duplicate that layer and then save it, because I don't want to lose my progress. Pictures. And I do not choose names that make any sense. I just type in random numbers. I really don't care. I'm working on this particular one right now, and I don't need to title it yet anything specific. I just need to save it. Okay. So I have this here. Obviously, it's a jumble of colors and everything, which is what it's supposed to be at this point. Move that up. There we go. I want to add some organized color change here, so I'm going to duplicate this layer, filters, edge detect, edge, amount all the way up to 10. Algorithm, Sobel, I don't really change that much. Blah blah blah, everything else is the same. Click OK. Edge will take where two colors meet and make a line there. So you can see where these lines exist. There was a line there. And then there's some other lines that you don't really, aren't as strong, that are going to be there too. Some people don't like those. Like, I'm not a big fan of the like really faint lines. I like strong, bold lines. So that's okay. That's fine. Let's just add to it. So those are the lines we have to work with. So I'm going to go to, I want them all to be white lines, so I'm going to go to desaturate, mono mixer. Just a trick that I learned. Make them all 5, green channel, blue channel, multiplier. I don't even know what that does or means, but it makes all my lines white. So I'm going to say okay. Duplicate this layer now that I have it that way. And you'll kind of see what I'm going to do here. Filter, generic, dilate. Dilate's gonna increase the width of the white, like growing a crystal almost in every direction on the white. So I'll zoom in, you can see what I'm talking about. So there's the width of the line, the white line. I'm gonna hit filters, repeat dilate, and you'll see it add to this. There, see, like it grew outwards. Filters, and you do it like a bunch of times. Dilate. Twice more. One more time for this layer. So as you can see, this layer started these thin lines, now they're really more robust. Okay, that's fine. So I have this layer on top which is thinner, this one's just thicker. Let's make another one, duplicate this layer, and filters, repeat dilate. I'm just going to keep doing this process. It takes a little while to apply each dilate. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 4, and you can see that it gets so much larger that it merges into the other lines, which is fine. Also, you're going to get a little bit of this sort of like choppy corners and stuff. Or curves, choppy curves. That's fine. I don't mind that. You can do it twice more. 1. 2. Okay. So we have these 3 layers. Let me zoom out here. You see they're quite different than originally was. Okay, so you have this layer which is above it, which is a thinner line than the previous layer. And then you have the thinnest line underneath, on top of that. So you have the thinnest, second thinnest, third thinnest, which is the thickest layer. Underneath that you have the original colors that we created. So what I'm going to do is zoom into this layer, select by color. I'm just going to select the white. But this threshold will work fine. And it's going to take a little while. You can monitor it here. Oh, there we go. It selected it. You can see it there. You can see that it has this sort of selection there. And we're going to make this layer that we just selected the white from invisible. And we're going to click on the colored layer and go to, now it's selecting this on the colored layer. Color invert. I'm going to invert these colors that it's selected. Look, they're inverted. Okay, select none. Go to the next thickest layer. Select the white lines. Wait for it. Okay. Select them there. Yep. Okay, make this layer invisible. Go to the, select the colorful layer. Colors. I'm not going to choose invert this time. I'm not inverting the colors. I am sliding the hue so you can see that changes. I kind of like it right about there. Okay. Just choose whatever is good. And we're going to monitor the system here. Just waiting for it to catch up. Like I said, it can take a while. OK. Select none. It's done there. Then we're going to go to the thickest layer, select by color, select the white, wait for it to catch up. Okay, selected it, make that invisible, select the colorful layer, colors, hue, saturation. And the reason this is working is because hue saturation will change all the colors within the selection in the same way. So the ones we changed originally are here, and the ones we changed after that are here, and the ones we're changing now are the thickest line. But it's changing them all at the same time with the same method. So I'm just gonna leave it there. Okay. And wait for that to catch up. There's a lot of waiting involved. I mean, if you're pushing your computer to a larger canvas to begin with, and your computer is not that fast or not fast enough to be quick with that size canvas, you're going to be waiting. And right now I'm using 23.8 gigabytes of memory. So if you don't have that much memory, you won't be able to do this. Because if you're using swap or whatever, it just doesn't really work that well past when you run out of memory. CPUs are busy. And there it goes. Okay. Select none. Now let's take a look at what all that has done. I'm going to save it too. So it's going to save. So as you can see, it's added a lot of different colors within the lines, kind of conforming to the original pattern, only it's got a lot of crazy colors going on here. And I can tell right now that the density is too uniform. Like the pattern density for my eyes is just too... Need something else. So I'm going to go to... And I'm not working on color yet. I'm not trying to do the colors. Filters, render. I like to use the logarithmic spiral to introduce something to the pattern. So you just go to logarithmic spiral. You just go to spiral, change the type to logarithmic, and hit OK. And there you have a nice spiral logarithmic. Select by color and select the red. Make that layer invisible. Select the one with the colors beneath it. I'm going to duplicate it just in case I need to use it later. Filters. I'm going to go to color balance. Color balance, you can reduce the amount of colors or change the amount of colors. So I like that it only has 2 colors. Like, it's a little simpler and it's a spiral, so that's kind of neat. I'm gonna leave the other spiral the same as it was. I mean, I just think there's 2 spirals. There's the positive red spiral, and then there's like a negative spiral. Not a technical term at all, but just 2. You can see 2 here. So that's still selected. I'm going to change the hue, something a little more friendly. Just changing the colors here. There we go. Just a little darker. A little lighter, perhaps, actually. Okay. So I'm going to have this spiral lighter and like that. And okay. Then I'm going to select the other spiral by hitting select invert. As soon as this is done. So now I want the other one to be darker. If I make one lighter, I make the other darker. Select invert. Colors. Hue saturation. Make them a little bit darker. Change this. Like that. Okay, so I'm kind of working on the colors at the same time as introducing the spiral. They're just slightly more coordinated. Okay. Select the move tool, select none. Duplicate that layer. Just to have 2 copies. Filter, distort, kaleidoscope. 12, we'll make it 12. And we're gonna make it. You don't have to move it all the way right. You can move it. Just play with it. Like, there's no real method to this part. Just whatever you want to see. And And there you have, it's getting closer. So go ahead and hit OK. Also, I want to see something. Sometimes I just like to see what the edge detect would look like at this point. Cancel. So let's just work on color at this point. Filters, hue, saturation, colors, hue, saturation. Okay, so what if we make that whiter like that, and this a little darker, the blue. I'm liking that. Let's make this a little greener. Green. Yeah, green. The red, a little oranger. But a little darker. And then this lighter and more like red. Where's the red? Saturation. So it's getting a little closer, but not quite. Hit OK. Colors, levels. It's not really doing what I wanted to do here, but I still want the levels changed to give it more vibrant colors, but I'm gonna go back and change them in the hues again. Colors, hue, saturation. So make the greens and the cyans light. I'm liking that. Maybe saturate the reds, darken them a bit. Lighten them, actually lighten them a bit. Say OK. Colors, brightness, contrast. Say OK. I think I'm going to change one more thing. Colors, hue, saturation, red, down, cancel. Actually, I won't change that. Colors, hue, saturation. I'm liking that, but it's not quite done yet. I think some of the colors are too far apart, so try this. Say okay. Go ahead and change purple to red. Okay. Change the saturation there. Changing it right there. Okay, I think we're done there. File. As soon as that's done, file save. File save. And we're going to need to name it, which is not my favorite part, so I'm going to open up a browser here and go to random wordgenerator.org. Reponsion, no. Retail, no. 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 A worder, whatever. I'm going to name it this. Condition of being imperfect. And sometimes it takes forever to do something, which is okay. You can ignore these not responding messages. They go away on their own. You know, image, scale image. I only have 200 megapixels to work with when posting, so I will go ahead and scale it down to somewhere where it's going to be closer to that. It takes quite a while to scale it. Now I'm going to submit it to DeviantArt. I'm going to use the same tags as my last one. And there it is, posted. And we'll look at it up close. There it is. Looks good. Alright, and that is it. I'll see you next time. Bye.